it's enough to tie it together and give it like a little suit, maybe a vest, that you put on it. But yeah, it's not like this huge dogmatic
a cummerbund, if you will.
A cummerbund, a pocket square.
Conceptual cummerbund.
An ascot.
Cummerbund.
Title of the
Is
show.
that our new band name? Conceptual Cummerbund.
Right now is the time for me to leave everything I know behind. No more lies.
Until you hang from such a cross, you won't know a thing about laughter or loss. From Galilee to Gethsemane to Golgotha, it's a short, short walk. A short, short walk. That's one from my boy Patrick Stickles, Titus Andronicus.
Again, that totally sounds like a Decemberist's lyric there.
Is it? What did you?
It's from Joseph of Nazareth Blues off their first album.
Yeah, but you said one of the words there was weird.
Oh, Golgotha.
Golgotha. Golgotha, yeah, isn't it Golgothan? Like the
Golgotha.
or like the.
Are we splitting hairs here? Are we splitting hairs?
I'm not sure how that's pronounced. I've heard it both ways. I think British people would say Golgotha, and Americans would say Golgotha.
Whatever.
What did I say?
Golgotha.
Golgotha.
You said Golgotha. You did the British one.
I did at one point. Well, I still know a woman who American says aluminium.
Oh, aluminium. Yeah, that's the British one.
I love that one.
And is an advertisement. And I'm gonna be like, you're not British.
Advertisement.
you don't have to take on the British.
Aluminium is actually the element.
Yeah.
We changed the word so we could make it a product. Aluminum. It is actually aluminium. And then some American jackass was like, yeah, but you can't sell an element. You can't trademark an element. So I don't know. They changed it to aluminum so that it could be a product name. Yeah, so the British have that one right.
It doesn't change the fact that no one says aluminium in the United States, and this person
I wish we could get away with
stands
it,
on
because I
that.
do prefer that.
Spelling color with a U and shit.
She probably uses the
Doing that
metric
on
system
purpose.
too.
Or saying literally.
How many kilometers is the store? The fuck are you talking about?
Stop using the metric system.
Can you believe how much a liter of gas costs these days? A liter of petrol?
Petrol.
Fucking yeah, some people like that. It's literally $4.50 a gallon.
How many quid is that?
It's about £9.50.
Isn't it?
All this from Golgotha.
Nine quid 50.
Is that from M&S? M&S.
All right, well, I chose that because I figured, we're talking about the thermals today, and I feel like there's a Venn diagram of people who, if they like the thermals, maybe they'll like Titus Andronicus.
Well, you gotta, Golgotha or Golgotha is biblical a reference, and so
You got that, did you? Galilee, yep. Nazareth, these are deep cuts. So we're talking about the thermals this week. Portland punk band. If you've heard of the thermals, then you've undoubtedly heard of their 2006 semi-conceptual album, The Body, the Blood, the Machine, which is their third album. But we're going to also talk about their second album, Effin A, from 2004.
we can call it
Effin
A.
A.
Right?
Effin A.
The album
Effin
is
A,
called
man,
fucking
Effin
A.
I've been told that I dropped too many F-bombs on here. So
Who told you that? Your wife did, didn't she?
some family, No, not my wife.
Not my wife, but totally.
Trying to tone it down a little bit. So
I will not be censored. Fuck you.
Awesome. I swear way more.
For
than
every
that.
F and I say, Greg and Brian are going to say 25 fucks.
Whoever's out there in your family, fuck them.
you grow up in the Boston area. Everyone says fuck every third fucking word, dude. it's like
I don't really mean that. Whoever you are.
Oh my God, we're so far off topic already.
Yeah, no, we'll edit this shit out.
We'll cut it out.
Cut it in post. It'll be nice. It'll be fun. You'll have like 4 minutes that you can just cut right out. And you'll be like, sweet. That felt good.
Talking about the thermals. Why are we talking about the thermals, actually?
About the thermals? Yeah.
Well, I picked these albums because, I guess maybe we'll get to that in due course.
And you got a twofer out of this.
How did you get two?
I got two.
I
do.
There's no 2 on Rapid Fighters.
Well, you got like 17 Taylor Swift albums
that is
down
fair.
into
That's
one.
fair,
So
yeah,
Well,
you
it was one album though of stuff. It was probably 15 songs.
I figured I'd take some liberties here. I initially I was just going to do the Body Blood the Machine, but that's a great album. I love that album, but I also feel like Fucking A is an unloved sophomore album. I wanted to compare them because I feel like it shows sort of some growth in the
Yeah.
Thermals, and yeah, and you know, Greg, you said you're a fan of the Thermals. I take it from back in the day. You've seen them like how many times?
Let me see. What am I wearing right now?
See, I thought about wearing my
a-
thermal
it's a
shirt.
destroyed-
You're wearing a Taylor Swift T-shirt.
It's a destroyed thermal shirt that I got in 2006 and wore literally to pieces. It's
And a
just
long
sitting-
blonde wig like Donald Pleasance from Escape from New York.
Yeah, well, I wear that all the time, just not even just for the podcast. And yeah, I've seen the Thermals probably 5 or 6 times at least. They're just a band I loved, and they're a great, fun live band. Just a 3-piece, real good rapport on stage, and they played Chicago a lot. So
I've actually never seen them live. I'm a
Wow,
huge
really?
fan of all their albums, but
Wow,
I've
man.
never seen them live.
On
And it's
purpose?
really painful because when they made Fucking A and well, around the time of their first and second albums, I lived in Portland, and I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. I'm sure I had many opportunities to see them, and just
Yeah, I had 2 that I like rushed to see. One of them was at the Logan Square Auditorium, and my family was on vacation, and we came back from vacation the same night as the show.
and I just
So
rushed over there.
I literally went from the airport to the Logan Square Auditorium with my bag and fucking saw the Thermals play.
Babe, I gotta
an
go.
all-ages show. I know. I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. And then
I'll see you tomorrow.
yeah.
Hutch needs me.
And then once I was doing it was like $7 or something for an all ages show. I'm like,
That's a
I'm
bargain.
fucking going, man. Yeah, like it's incredible. And I love the Logan Square Auditorium too. I performed theater there a couple times, and it's just a cool place. And the second time I was doing a show downtown when Pitchfork was going on, and I biked everywhere when I lived in Chicago. And as soon as the show was over, I was like, pew, like shot out on my bike and went way too fucking fast, like very, very unsafe bike ride to get there, like, you know, minutes before the Thermals played at Pitchfork. I like raced into the show and got to see him. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this band.
Nice.
I fucking love them.
Well, we'll get into why you hadn't heard their second album. We're such a huge
I'm a huge fan. Never heard their second.
But Brian, I mean, you're the reason this was put on the list because you had never heard of the Thermals before. Maybe you'd heard of it, but you never listened to the Thermals before, and so therefore it made it to prime pickets for Rabbit Fighters. So.
Yeah. Conversely, I've heard of none of their albums. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know why. That's weird. Because I was looking at the timelines on these. What is it? 2003 and 2006.
Yeah, they started.
So
as
I don't really have an
band in 02.
excuse.
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah,
Because I'm a huge fan of Sub Pop, and then I like a lot of bands very similar to this, and yeah, I just never heard of them. I have no excuse, gentlemen.
That's why Rabbit Fighters exists.
Exists.
We all have blind
sometimes.
spots.
Well, I'm not gonna lead the witness, but you know, sometimes you land upon something decent. A lot of times you land on a lot of garbage, like Dune. But Dune 84.
Stricken from the record.
And you know,
Yeah.
what was that Tom Petty album we did?
No, Full Moon Fever.
Full
Like,
Moon Fever. God,
one of the best regarded Tom Petty albums that
I know.
exists. Yeah.
That, but it was just so hard to like listen to that.
Are we rehashing old business here, guys?
Yeah.
I think about that album all the time. I don't know.
That's like a multi-platinum, super famous
know.
album. So like, yeah.
Well, there's plenty of famous albums that I don't like,
But
but
yeah, sure, yeah.
We were
I just
listening
mean
to
it
Johnny
can't
Cash
be-
the other day, and he does a cover of "Won't Back Down," and that
yeah.
came on, and my wife was like, "Is this? Did he do this originally?" And Tom Petty covered him because this is way better than Tom Petty.
he did like a 9 Inch Nails song.
Yeah, it was like,
"Hurt" is a classic.
well, Hurt is
No,
a classic, yeah. But you know, a lot of times he's just like, you know, you just take the song that some pop band did, you know, like Smooth by Rob Thomas, and you know, he's like, you're so
How dare you besmirch Rob Thomas's name?
You're like, it's just Johnny Cash like meandering his way through a
I-
shitty pop song. Like,
Give
it's
Carlos
not good.
Santana credit on Smooth. It's not just Rob Thomas.
I'm keeping him out of the conversation because that song.
Oh, that was a
sucks.
duet?
Yeah, it's Carlos Santana and Rob Thomas.
This whole time I thought it was Matchbox 20.
Just
nothing
like
against
the
Tom.
ocean under the moon.
Not to rewind back to Tom Petty. I feel like I was hating on Tom Petty. I just, for some reason, I found that album hard to
Listen to.
kind of digest in a week, because I feel like I always get
I understand.
I always get
Yeah.
slightly nervous when we do albums, because I never feel like it's really enough time to absorb the music, especially because we're often talking about like a beloved album of somebody that's probably listened to it 50 times, and then I listen to it 4 times in a week, and it's hard just to like grasp.
You're saying we should only
nuances
focus
of
on the
everything.
juniors of the world, things that nobody loves.
Sometimes, like a bottle of wine, you need to let
No.
it breathe. You open up the album, you pour it in a glass, you let it breathe for a while, and then you consume it, and then you get the full experience that the vintner intended.
It's an apt metaphor.
1,000%, I agree, and I also think there's just too much fucking music now. Like, it's too easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's too easy to make music in that. Before, say, even in 2003, like that year, that's the year I graduated college, but I was still like trying to find and seek out albums at a record store, and like you would buy 1 to 2 or 1 or wait for a new release, and then I'd listen to it all the time. But now it's just like with Spotify and everything streaming, like I can just hop around so often that I don't sit with an album anymore. To where and it's funny because there's albums that I sat with for a very long time, and I remember them by name, that time period I can tell you was like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and Spoon's Kill the Moonlight, and there was like those type of albums where it's like I listened to them a shit ton, but now it's like random shuffle, move, skip album. So it is hard for me to just digest and sit with an album because everything is so skippable, and there's always a next track or some other album I can listen to.
Yeah, I find myself still gravitated towards like trying to listen to albums.
I want to.
So
I feel like it's so everything is so accessible that it's like I can just move around.
80% of the time, I put on an album and I listen to it all the way through if I have time, because sometimes the day gets a hold of you and you have to stop it and go do something else. But I try and pick up where I left off, and then the other 20% of the time is like finding a shuffle list somewhere and just going through that until I find a song I really like, and then then I find the album that was off of and listen to that album. So.
A lot of times though, I'll listen to, and I'll do that. I'll find a song, I'll listen to the album, and like that song was the only good one because people don't really make albums like to be all good anymore. Like they aren't supposed to be like 6 singles on an album that are all good. But I mean, I feel like I agree with Brian. There's no investment in music anymore for me. It used to be like if you wanted an album, you had to plunk down 10, 12, 16, 18 bucks for it. And then that was something you bought, and your money is sitting in front of you, So like you're more likely to be like, well, I'm going to see if I can like this album because I paid 16 bucks for it. Yeah. Like, whereas now if you listen to it, you're just like, it didn't hit me right off the bat. I'm just going to skip on to the next thing because it's $10 a month to hear anything that was ever recorded.
I'll go off on a huge tangent, so we should just move forward because I had this huge
Forward.
experience.
That's a song off of the second album by the Thermals.
But yeah, let's talk about. Well, I still am true. I still think that I'd like to keep the part about like I think some of the how I missed this band was a lot of maybe some of the streaming type of things. But yeah, I mean for me, digesting music, like buying the album, like in my case, my day, the CD, and like putting it in my car and like a single player, like I would just have that in my car and that's all I listened to for like weeks, probably, or whatever, a week or so when I bought it and be excited about getting an album. But to Greg's point, like with like Sirius, like satellite radio, it's like song sucks, skip, like switch channel, like I just move around all the time.
Right away. Yeah.
That's funny,
so I'm like,
that's how I discovered the Thermals. I still remember the very first time I heard them and what I was doing. We had like just moved to Chicago and we were having wings for like 25-cent wing night at the Scofflaw on Armitage and Kedzie.
Yeah, it's still there, I think.
Yes, it's still there. I think it was called something else at the time. It's now the Scofflaw, and I can't remember what the original name was. However, we were sitting there, and this band comes on, and it was like the grainiest, most high energy shit. And I grabbed the server and I was like, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
And they were, "Oh, it's the Thermals." I was like, as soon as we're getting home, I'm listening to this entire
Before
album.
Shazam, yeah.
And it was their first album, More Parts Per Million. And so
yeah.
from there, I was hooked. And by then, it was like already like 2007, 2008. So the Body, the Blood, the Machine, and Fucking A had already been out. So it was all like back catalog that I was exploring there. But yeah, that first album was just super high energy, but it was recorded on like the shittiest equipment in the world.
Yeah,
so it's just very, very grainy, very, very raw. And so their second album, Fucking A, still, I think, it still channels a lot of that, but it is definitely more polished than the first album. And so you can kind of see this like progression as they got a little bit more, widely recognized, not culminating, but moving into the Body, the Blood, the Machine, which I think a lot of people would argue is like, if not the high point, then at least probably some of the most mature work that they did.
Yeah, I heard this. I was in a music forum with a bunch of guys where we would download albums and put them on we had a box.com account, and we would drop the album in there, and
Not a
then
sponsor.
yeah, right. And we would have an album of the week, and we would all listen to the album, kind of like this. We'd all listen to the album, and then just over email, over messaging, we would review the album and then talk about it and stuff like that. And sometimes people would just be like, I got these 5 albums and I'm just dropping them here. Here's a quick summary of each one, like cool punk album, great soul record, blah, blah, blah. And this was one of those where we didn't review it, but someone was like, cool punk record. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to this. And right away, like, that got it, the beginning of this album definitely caught me, but his voice fucking threw me off. I didn't really like his voice. Yeah, he's like, here's your future,
Yeah, he's got this kind of nasally sort of thing going on.
Here's your future. And I was like, I kind of probably don't like this, but again, it was before streaming services were a thing, really. And I was like, I'm gonna listen to it again because I burned a CD from it and was playing it on CD. And yeah, probably the third listen through, I was like, it's like getting used to something. It's like getting used to a smell, or the temperature in the room, or anything else where you're like, oh, it doesn't feel hot in here anymore. I was like, oh, I'm not irritated by this guy's voice anymore. And then the songwriting and the music really was able to like hit me in the chest in the right way. And I brought Margaret to a show at the Bottom Lounge in Chicago, and which
Good
has
venue.
horrible acoustics, but is a great club. And she was like, I never heard these guys. But yeah, and she doesn't really love punk music. But at the end of the show, she was like, that was a good show. And that Saint Rosa and whatever that song was, the Saint Rosa, that was really good. Like, I actively really like that song, and I was like, yes. It's because it's a fucking awesome song. So they won her over to in a live show.
Nice. So Brian, what order did you listen to these in? Did you go Fucking A first and then Body, Blood, the Machine, or reversed? Or
No, I Body, Blood, the Machine first.
Oh, really? Okay.
I actually probably listened to that one more. I not that I couldn't get into Fucking A. It's just they're two very different albums. They have two very different vibes. Not vibes, but like the production is much different. And like you were saying, it's a more, the Body, Blood, and the Machine to me is a more realized album. That has,
Yep.
I was trying to go through them. There's not a skippable track on it.
No.
Like it's solid, like top to bottom. And not to say Fucking A isn't, it's just more random to me. Like that comes off as a more straightforward, kind of more of a quote unquote punk album, where they sound a little more similar, and I can kind of interchange some of the songs. But with the Body, Blood, and Machine, even like I went back and like read through all the lyrics of all the songs, and it's definitely the song writing is a little higher in it, and which is kind of interesting because I went back and like read some of the band history and such, and it seems like Body Build Machine, apparently it was like the two of them just playing all the instruments, and it's a better album than when they were
Most of it.
legitimate 3-piece. So I thought it was interesting.
Most of it was Kathy Foster plays drums on most of the recordings, and then
Yeah,
they
got like a touring
get a
drummer
touring drummer
to play live.
with them. And Kathy Foster, by the way, is super fun to watch play because she bounces up and down. She's got this big mop, big mop of hair that like pops up and down and stuff like that. Like she's a delight to watch.
They don't I didn't realize they were a 3-piece until I started digging. I mean, I listened to this a couple times beforehand, but I mean, musically I didn't really pick up on that. I'm sure there's like some in production. I'm sure there's some dubbing, double tracking and something in there, but it's not like just sonically like stripped down at all. Like it's definitely layered, and it sounds bigger than they are, especially on the second album. But I love that I guess recorded by the drummer from Fugazi on the second one, and then
Brennan Canty,
Chris Walla from Death Cab on the second album, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they're very different.
Yeah.
I remember reading a review of The Body, Blood, the Machine after, I started listening to it, and I forget who the critic was, but the critic said, if you had heard the first two albums from this band, More Parts Per Million and Fucking A, you would have no idea that they would have ended up coming up with this album. This completely reinvented concept album based on the Old Testament. And it just basically floored me. It came out of nowhere for me. The critic is saying this. And I have to agree, because I did listen to, it's not like I'd never heard Fucking A or anything. I skimmed it and was like, yeah. And I'd heard Body and the Blood and the Machine first. And so it was kind of hard to go backward to Fucking A and being like, oh, this is also okay. Because I had such high regard for the Body of the Blood and the Machine. And then I listened, the next one, Now We Can See, is, I think, almost the same quality as the Body of the Blood and the Machine, and a different album.
It's not a concept album by any means. There's no thread that goes through it, but it is very high quality recording and good songs on there.
Really good. Like that song Now We Fade is that very Pixies-ish song. Now We Fade from that one is a fucking killer song. I was like, man, every time I hear this song, and then Saint Rosa and the Swallows too. It has that line where he says, "The day's only clear for a second." Passing all the days I switched to auto mode, days for which I have nothing to show. Pausing on the days I'm afraid I'll forget. The day's only clear for a second. Like that whole sequence of lyrics is fucking. I agree with it entirely.
This album's solid lyrically. Going back and reading and in much more than the sophomore album. I just kind of.
Well, Fucking A, it's definitely more of just a straight punk album.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lines that are just repeated over and over again, and they're definitely going for punchiness and just high energy. And there's not like a narrative or anything goes through it. But I think it definitely it's where they start really dipping their toes into political commentary. Like there's a bunch of songs on there that are both, the punk ethos that includes firm anti-establishment views, and then they take it a step further into The Body, the Blood, and the Machine.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that too. Like you mentioned concept album. I don't know if this is a concept album. I mean, this kind of that loose thread of the Christian overtaking, running away kind of thing. But there's a lot of political and religious references, but I don't know if I would call it a concept album. I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. I've always Tommy from The Who, where every song's about pinball.
Well, I have always read it as it's a there's a narrative of this couple that is, and Pillar of Salt, I think, is kind of like the centerpiece of that, but it's this Christofascist regime that has taken over America, which is just batshit crazy. Could never happen.
Yeah.
And this is what, 2006
6.
when this came out,
06, yeah. 18 fucking years ago.
and yet here we
crazy.
are.
Can't
So
believe it's that long.
if anyone out there has not listened to the Body Blood Machine, definitely in these trying times, I think this is a good album to listen to, because it does say a lot. But it's a sort of just the story about, okay, there's this couple that lives in America in this future where the Christian regime is taken over, and it's a big brother that is forcing this theology down your throat, and they will hammer you into the dirt if you don't believe. And it's about their trying to escape from it, but it's also kind of about their own journey of, spirituality and belief against the backdrop of an authoritarian spirituality,
Authoritarian God, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what is. I think that's the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't have to be like, The Wall, where it's like
Yeah.
a fucking story. Using the Old Testament as a framing device for, political commentary and relationship commentary, I think makes it a concept album.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be as literal as like, this is a story and every song is another chapter in the story.
Not Tom Petty, Tommy and
like Tommy
and Pink Floyd, like those
Floyd.
are like 70s prog rock. Those are like archetypal concept albums.
Yeah,
but
I actually love those Pink Floyd records. I'm not a huge fan of The Who, but I love a whole section of Pink Floyd records, including The Wall.
Yeah. I'm just kind of was clarifying. I was curious on your point of view, because I could see the thematic thread running through, but I was like, I saw some people would say it's a pseudo concept album.
Yeah.
It is I'm like curious, like, is it, or
it's in the same vein
curious,
as The Monitor by Titus Andronicus.
I was just gonna say, it reminded me a lot of the Titus Andronicus album we did, where it's like kind of, there's bits and pieces. It's like scattered throughout.
I think they don't let it be a straitjacket. When you let the concept become a straitjacket, then you have to have everything fit into this story mold, and then it kind of limits what you can do and say. I think when you use it as a jumping off point, which I think Titus Andronicus does too, because I was like, shit isn't about the Civil War. Like, there's much of this album is like all over the place, but it just has this thread running through it. It's enough to tie it together and give it like a little suit, maybe a vest, that you put on it. But yeah, it's not like this huge dogmatic
a cummerbund, if you will.
A cummerbund, a pocket square.
Conceptual cummerbund.
An ascot.
Cummerbund.
Title of the show.
Is that our new band name? Conceptual cummerbund. I was gonna say, as someone who has never heard of the Thermals, and B, enjoyed these two albums, what would you recommend for myself and or our 7 listeners? What albums?
12 actually.
We're up to 12.
Wow.
Jesus. Like, what album would you go backwards or would you go forwards?
Forward.
I'd go for 1, 2, 3, forward. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Now we can see.
God.
Now we can see. I think is an equal, almost an equal.
Because Greg, you dropped another link into a different album. I didn't listen to that.
That's
track.
from Now We Can See, and it's very Pixies-ish.
Okay.
Now We Can See is really good. And
I think you dropped a link from Personal Life.
No, I dropped. Oh yeah, I did.
I had the two faces.
I did.
Power Lies, which is also it's a good song.
I was talking about.
Now You Can See is.
Now You Can See. I was talking about.
Oh way whoa.
No, the song How We Fade. How We Fade is also it's second to last song on that album. That's one of my favorite all-time tunes.
Yeah, it's got the swan on the cover. And I like all their albums because all their albums are like collages. That Hutch ended up doing, so they make the artwork as well.
The covers, you mean?
Yeah.
All the album covers.
Personally,
I saw they had limited edition like blood splattered LP for
Oh really?
Blood the Body Machine, but it was
I've not seen.
Do you have that, Joshua?
Do they really? No, I don't.
Yeah, it was like a 15th
I think I have a
anniversary.
Yeah. I think but yeah, Now We Can See is a fucking great album, and it's more personal. It has like confessional songs and stuff like that. Like he talks about being an alcoholic and drying up, like getting rid of booze from his life, liquid in, liquid out. But yeah, How We Fade, We Dissolve, When I Died, We Were Sick. When I Died is the opener, and as soon as you hear it, it's the same thing as Body, the Blood Machine. soon as you hear When I Died, you're like, oh man, this is gonna be a good record, and it is.
Now that you mention the Liquid In Liquid Out, because I going back and listening to those interviews with him there's at least 4 interviews I watched. Every single one of them, he's drinking a beer, and he mentions drinking a beer.
Yeah.
So,
He's an alcoholic. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Liquid In, Liquid Out. That's what my life was all about. He's just like, yet another person who's an artist who turned to booze and used it as a crutch probably, and was like, oh, this is killing me. Now we can see is basically an equal of Body, Blood, Machine. And then it starts to,
I don't know if I'd say equal, but it's very close.
Really good. And then the quality of the work starts to fade out as they get older. The one that I posted that song from, that's by far the best song on that album. Personal Life is a decent album, but not great. I think it's only 7 tracks. It's really short. And then I didn't really much listen to the one from 2013. I forget what that one's called, but
yeah, I'm sad they broke up. But you can kind of,
you could tell
as time goes on.
Yeah.
You could tell like there are other things going on, and it didn't seem as focused as it was before. And maybe they were trying to make it, and it just wasn't happening. Or I don't know the details of why they broke up, but to 2018 or something like that, they called it quits.
It's tough to keep the magic going too.
Yeah.
Like when you come out with magical albums like that, like Titus Andronicus, Patrick Stickles saying the same thing. Like all these people are telling him he's never going to get an album better than The Monitor, and he's like, "Fuck you, damn it!" And like it's exhausting. After a while, and people keep telling you like, you know what album I like the best, and you're 4 albums later. And you're like, The Body, the
did
Blood,
20
the
years
Machine.
ago.
And you're like, yeah, The Body, the Blood, and the Machine. You're like, I know. Everyone fucking tells me that,
Yeah, it's kind of like Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
And in the Airplane Over the Sea. It's
Yep.
just like,
Yeah,
how do you top something?
Called it quits. Top of the mountain. We're done.
In Avery Island is pretty good, but what's my favorite album?
Let me guess.
Airplane Over the Sea. I want to jump off the bridge right now. Yeah.
I mean, if I wrote that album, I'd be talking about it nonstop, though. But, guys.
You're like, you'd have a T-shirt that said, I wrote in the Airplane Over the Sea.
It just says
it was me.
It says, arrow pointing up says, I'm the king of carrot flowers.
It would be, I would be pretty proud of it. But then again, I wouldn't have written that album in the first place.
You wouldn't have sung about semen standing the mountaintops?
Semen stains the mountaintops. Greg, this is getting weird. Why do I play music for you, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, I asked that question because I think, I want to explore their discography a little bit, but then even the two, Hutch and the bassist, I'm blanking on her name,
Foster,
but
yeah,
they were in a band before that was
like a folk duo.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to listen to that.
I have not listened to that. I do want to listen to that because that's very, our namesake, T-Rex. Also started off as a folk duo,
totally.
Only singing like Tolkien songs. So
I think they were just called Hutch and Kathy.
Yeah, something like that. It's just the 2 names. Yeah.
I haven't heard that either. I didn't even really know that until I looked at this.
I didn't know it either.
Stuff for this episode, and I was like, oh shit, who knows?
I wonder if it's findable.
I think there were a couple as well. I think they started out as a couple, as many bands do.
Yeah, Hutch and Kathy.
They start out as a couple, and then they break up, and they're like
the White Stripes.
The band is good. Yeah.
Ooh, like Dead.
The band going.
One of my favorite Chicago bands, Dead.
Hey, I mean, they they were the 2 mainstays through all their albums, right? I mean,
yeah, the only 2 members that were on all the records. Who's your favorite Chicago band?
Dead. Current Chicago, like still
Dead.
DEHD. Dead.
Oh, I don't really know them.
The lead singer, the guitarist, they were a couple, and they broke up. And they were all their songs are basically about their failed relationship.
Fuck it, the music's still good, so let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Your favorite band from Chicago is not Chicago?
Oh, I always forget they're from Chicago.
Hard for me to say.
It's hard.
The original band name was Chicago Transit Authority.
Yeah, CTA, and then they got sued or something. Yeah,
getting sued by a public utility,
a public urinal.
That's kind of a dumb way to name your band, though. Like, it's like calling yourself the Sears Tower. I don't know. It's just like we're Wrigley Field. Like, oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
It's kind of dumb. Couldn't think of anything else. You just went by Wrigley Field and you came up with that.
We really like
that's like the most vanilla fucking non-fat yogurt name. I
Yeah.
fucking heard. We're the Chicago Transit Authority.
See, we came up
You're
with the
fucking
name
bullshit, is what you are.
because 3 of us were on the CTA one day, and we realized like it was called the Chicago Transit Authority, and so that's what we named the band.
It's really taking us places, and
Yeah.
we wanted the
Taking
band to take us places too.
We got sued and started calling ourselves the L. And then we got sued again.
It's horseshit.
That's like one of those generic bands. Just
Oh man. Okay, should we rate this?
Yeah, I suppose we should.
you got to say how we always say it. You got to time to rate the sucker.
Let's rate this sucker.
It's
These
time to rate the
suckers.
sucker.
Rate these suckers.
You know what I need though before we rate?
What do you need?
I need to know what the rating is. What are the
Yeah,
scales?
what
give
are
me,
the- what
give
are
me
the
some.
ratings
I
of
got a
the-
delicious one here. It's gonna be a
Tee that
deep
one up
cut.
for you.
delicious final.
On a scale of F- to A+, F- being 2 Kings 2:23 through 25, read by Gilbert Gottfried.
The
Or
movie? Oh,
A+,
that's Three Kings.
Ezekiel 25:17, as read by Samuel L. Jackson. These are Bible verses.
Well, that's.
Yeah. Well,
Is that
You're not
actually a Bible
familiar with
verse?
2 Kings 2:23 through 25?
No.
How could you not? Well, let me educate you. That's the one where all the kids make fun of the dude for being bald. So then he damns them. Bears come out, eat the kids.
Wow.
Great Bible story.
Is the
But imagine
Pulp
it being
Fiction
read
quote
by-
real though?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
one
think it's
is
a real Bible verse.
Oh yeah, totally. So
I
is
think
the one I just said.
I think it's
They're
funny
both
that
real.
religious fundamentalists want to ban all kinds of books, but like give everyone the Bible, and you're like, it's the weirdest, most violent book
Yeah.
you could give a child.
You know what's fucked up? When a bear eats 40 people because they made fun of a guy for having no hair.
and like it's written in behalf of the guy with no hair. They're like, oh,
Like,
he's right, of course.
Yeah, he looks good at the outcome of that.
Yeah.
So,
He's the protagonist
Anyway.
of this story. Wouldn't fucking A be the top grade? Like a fucking A?
I
I just-
delicious.
I thought the
That might be
sorry,
better.
I'm like in my head now. I thought the Ezekiel thing was like paraphrased from the Bible.
is.
No,
It was like a
it's-
literal quote.
It's a
Okay.
quote, yeah. But it's also
it's like-
read by Samuel L. Jackson, which makes it an A+.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like this was a failure of rating scale.
No, now I know that there's a Bible
6
verse about a
minutes of
bear eating
explanation.
children. I don't fucking know.
Okay, well, I'll do a quick one. So yeah, I would give fucking A an 8 out of 10. So I guess I would give it a B plus. Yeah, I'd give fucking A a B. Sorry, I'm gonna say a B.
Fucking B.
Fucking B. I'm gonna give it a fucking B. It's a good album. I love it. I listened to it, a bunch, and I wasn't sad that I listened to it a bunch. And the songs are all upbeat, well put together, well, recorded. It's a good album. But it did have this run together quality to it where I was like, wait, what's this one? What's this one again? And then yeah, the Body, the Blood, the Machine is A plus for me. I think it's a phenomenal album. I have no issues with it. It's like I said earlier, it just seems to have exploded out of their minds and into the public consciousness. I don't know where it came from, and they didn't ever do an album like it before or since. They made a very excellent album after it, so it wasn't like a one-off. Like the talent is there, but just the themes and the strange lyrics and the really gut punching little poetic bursts that come out of it, it's just very unique. And it's unique among their work, and it's unique among anything I can think of. It's a very singular, unique album full of really kick-ass songs. And I love it.
Awesome. So that was a A+.
A plus for Body, Blood, the Machine,
A
and a B.
plus.
Solid B for fucking A. You can see where the talent is building up to the great albums that they come up with later, but I don't think it is a great album. Fucking A. I think it's a good album.
Historian, do we have any other albums that's got an A plus in our?
Oh, yes, we do. I'm going to edit in that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had it. I thought you had it.
No, I
That's why I was asking. Never mind.
I think the only other thing I've given an A+ to my pick for I gave Grant Lee Buffalo an A+.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I also gave the only other thing I've given A+ to, I think, was the Joshua's pick for
The soundtrack to Junior.
soundtrack to Junior. No, what the hell was it? It's the Terry Gilliam movie.
An album?
Oh, Brazil.
Oh, Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah, the one with terrible name but a great movie.
Yeah, the one that should have been 1985.
1984 and a
No,
half.
guys.
1984 and
Yeah,
a
whatever
half.
that was. Is that what the original title was?
No,
Yeah,
it
1984
wasn't.
and a half.
Can we please stop talking
So
about
much better. That is so
It
good.
is great. Yeah, but I gave that an A+ too.
Okay. No, I was just curious. We haven't done many albums. I just wondered if any album had gotten an A+ from me.
Yeah, I gave my own pick an A+, but this
Oh,
is my
okay.
first A+.
I don't think I
gave
The
Someone
Impossibles an
else's
A+.
pick, Yeah, it just happened to be something I love.
All right, I'm gonna give fucking an A- because I do think it's a very good album, and I think in the pantheon of Thermal's albums, this is the one I go to second most.
Hmm.
It is. It just is. Like it's the Body Blood Machine, and then fucking A, which is why I chose it, because I love its energy. I love the political nature of it. I love how unpolished it is in parts. But God and Country and Forward are just like amazing punk songs that I think belong in everybody's like top 100. And then Body Blood and the Machine is A+ across the board. Classic album, especially in these dire times. We're recording this in July. Will be released in September. So by then, I think Trump's ascendancy will be assured, and this is going to be a banned album by the time anyone is listening in the year 2025, 2026. So listen to it now and prepare yourself, because this is where we're fucking heading right now. And so I think it's so sad that this album came out in 2006 and here we are in 2024, and it is we're on the precipice of this being a reality. So yeah, it's an A+. Read it and weep. Or listen to it and weep, whatever. Brian.
I'm excited because this is the first pick in which I think our show's purpose, which would maybe to be cast light on some movie and or album that someone had not heard and actually be excited about it. I think we finally have achieved this goal with this band of something that I haven't seen or heard, which I'm annoyed that I had not seen or heard. So so that to me is really cool that I somehow also I've known you guys for a very long time and no one's ever given me an album by these
I wore this
Funny.
shirt to work.
We both have
all the
t-shirts that are the
time.
Thermals.
I wore this all the time.
I've
And
got
we'd
the
be
kitty
like,
cat shirt. This is
Joshua
the
and I would
Thermal.
talk about it. He'd be like, "Oh, thermals, yeah, Portland, Oregon, yeah."
What was I
lived in
doing?
Portland, Oregon,
Probably closing cases.
Right.
I was probably
next
working.
to us. Right next to us.
No, but
ignoring
yeah, I
my
give
shirt.
I mean fucking A is a solid album. Like if you had not given me I'm tired of saying the whole album
Yeah.
name, just the body.
The body.
I would like this album too. So I feel like they're both in my wheelhouse.
In your Q
but-
zone.
Yeah, but I don't want to give it a lesser score because of an album that's trumps it. That's why you can't pick two albums. Because it makes one less
Comparison,
than, and it's
yeah.
not true. But yeah, I think I would give fucking A solid B. With the body, oh man, I feel like A is rarefied air of like a great album. And I haven't sat with it enough, but
Make an assessment.
You don't have to bow to peer pressure. It's okay.
no, I'm just trying to think where if I gave it like what's like an 8.5, 9, like B A minus or what is
Pitchfork
that?
Now you're pitchfork.
No, well I'm thinking what's the great equivalent?
Yeah,
Because you said an 8.
8.5 would be a B because that's an 85, which is a B on
That's
the
okay.
test. Yeah.
Damn it, it's better than that though.
Yeah, you mean the Body Blood the Machine? Oh
Yeah. It's a
B. I mean, you bow to peer pressure. It's better than a fucking D.
It's a 93.4 or nothing.
That's true. Is this an honors class? Because then a B is really an A.
Yeah, really, it's scaled.
I give it an A. I'm gonna give it an A.
Yeah.
I'll give
Fucking A.
All right.
A minus.
You're like Hamlet about this album.
I know.
When we tune in
A or
next
not
week,
to A.
Brian will still be deliberating.
Question.
I know. I just don't. You know what? I'm not. It's not like junior. I'm just not throwing out grades here.
Is that A minus 0.5? Is that a grade? A minus 0.5?
Well, see, this is the thing with two albums. You know, you just because they're very different. But I feel bad. Like if one's I mean, a B is a good score. A B is a solid.
That's
score.
not bad. I've never put out a B album in my life. Solid D's.
I'm
The whole way.
We've reviewed a B movie though.
Oh, that's true. We did.
Yeah.
Soundtrack was shit though.
It's so good. I listen to it all the time.
So next week we're doing a rando.
Yeah, we're doing a rando. Yeah.
Are you ready for a rando? We have 37 items. Let's see what we come up with. Are you ready?
We've heard from people that they don't like our albums, but you know what? The stats don't say that.
Yeah,
Those
the
people-
stats say otherwise. Yeah,
It's true.
Jersey Mike's has found us from the Alice in Chains episode.
Oh.
We're like these guys.
You know what?
We
We're gonna
can't
do
do
it
that.
because
Really
we
got it
like
going.
doing it.
That's right. I'm gonna pick another Tom Petty record.
Says
Yeah.
What do we got?
29. The Bad News Bears. I've
Prior
never
to
seen the Bad News Bears.
Starting, you said it was going to be the
Yeah.
Bad
I
News
know.
Bears.
Yeah.
It's because I was number 29 before this was Escape from New York. I removed it from the list and I cut Bad News Bears from the last slot into that slot. And it's just a
rigged.
randomizer. So
I
still-
feel like it's been rigged.
no, it's not.
It's like Lethal Weapon.
You-
Riggs.
Bad News Bears it is.
Bad News Bears.
So we got-
the original Bad News Bears, not the
What's that guy's name? Walter
Walter
Matthau.
Matthau, yeah, Walter
And
Matthau. not the new.
Is it Walter
who
Matthau?
hasn't seen the? Come on, who hasn't seen this?
John,
I haven't seen Bad News Bears. I grew up in Germany under a rock. There were lots of movies I didn't see.
Riding the bus to work, reading cartoons in Newsweek magazine, listening to Massive Attack. Inertia creeps from the album mezzanine. He looks around.
No, that's not how you pronounce that. Fuck. Gethsemane?
It's Gethsemane. I think.
Gethsemane?
Yeah.
Gethsemane.
Rehearse much?
No, I don't. I don't have fucking time to.
Nobody
rehearse.
does. Have you listened to our pre-edited stuff?
You sound
Okay. All right.